Yo, what's up? It's your boy, trying to be a Reddit YouTuber now because I don't know what to do with my channel. But today, I'm going to be reading r/pettyrevenge. So, I don't know, let's just get into this or whatever. The time I ruined my high school teacher's career and got her fired in the greatest way possible. This story is widely known amongst my family and is constantly brought up and joked upon in my group of friends even years later. A buddy of mine suggested that this is the perfect place to make it public, so let's get into this shitstorm. Backstory: I was a senior in high school at the time, and I had never been the brightest student. I was a solid C student, and I had never received a detention or any kind of bad student record. This is important because to this day I still have no idea why the teacher treated me this way. The teacher, who we will name Miss Frank, had been a teacher there for more than a decade and was widely known for being a petty, heartless bitch who the administrators saw as a golden child. Mrs. Frank taught algebra, which is my worst subject, so naturally I had issues understanding the lessons and would ask questions frequently. To some, these questions are easily answered, but to me it was rocket science. Usually when someone asks a dumb question, no one should address it. However, in Mrs. Frank's case, she would belittle me in front of everyone by saying things such as, "And here comes the slow boy again. Wow, surprise, you didn't understand it again. Really, we have to go extra slow for you today, don't we?" etc, etc. I tried going to the administration about it before, but again she was considered the golden child. They would send someone in to examine her during class, she would act respectful and normal for one day, and go back to being a bitch the next. This goes on for about half a year until I had enough. I went to the local Radio Shack, bought a recorder, and secretly recorded every insult she would throw at me. I would sometimes instigate to make up for lost time. Go ahead, feed the fire. Fast forward to the end of the year, and I'm sitting in Mrs. Frank's class when I ask a question. Her response, and I quote because it's burned into my brain, was, "I've been teaching here for over 10 years, and that was the single dumbest question I've ever heard come from anyone's mouth." She continued the lesson without answering. I calmly stood up, packed up my stuff, and headed to the nurse's office to dismiss herself from school. We were allowed to dismiss ourselves if we were 18. I went home, compiled all of the brutal tapes into one glorious masterpiece, and headed back the next day to show the administrators. I sat down with the principal and listened to a couple of the insults before he stopped me. He wanted more witnesses present as well as Mrs. Franks. He told me we would meet the next day where I could show him and the rest of the administrators the full tape. I walked into school the next morning being the most nervous I've been for anything. I was called down to the office where I met with some board directors, the local school police officer, the principal, the vice principal, and Mrs. Franks. What follows were some of the greatest minutes of my life. I watched as the administrator went from fed up with being in another useless meeting to furious and speechless with some of them keeping their mouths open for the duration of the tape. I also watched Mrs. Frank go from confident and stuck up to realizing that she had fucked up beyond repair. She was publicly roasting herself in front of the most important people from the district. The tape ended, and without hesitation, the administrators looked around in astonishment, and the principal turns to me and says, "I think we have heard everything we need to, thank you," and I was quietly dismissed from the room. The final time I saw Mrs. Franks was leaving the room. I looked back and we made eye contact through her tear-filled eyes as I gave her the biggest, most evil smile. I returned to class the next week and Mrs. Frank was nowhere to be found. The story spread quickly throughout the school and I was seen as a saint. I had successfully gotten her fired and made it almost impossible for Mrs. Frank to return to her teaching career, as well as cut off most of her connections she had with other teachers in the school. I had ruined her financially because no school district in the area would hire this walking piece of garbage. If you're reading this, Mrs. Frank, I'd like to take this moment to tell you to go fuck yourself. TLDR, my high school teacher belittled me all year. I secretly recorded her, showed the administrators, and got her fired. Edit 1. Should have cleared this up in the story, however, I didn't want to go too much detail about the process. Yes, this was perfectly legal to do, and my parents and I did our research to make sure we weren't breaking any kind of law. In my state, you can record someone in their place of business without both parties' consent. Wow, thank you for the gold, kind strangers. I believe this post became popular because everyone can relate to having a horrible teacher at one point in their life. I'm glad I could give some satisfaction to some of you who have had similar situations. Thank you for all the great feedback. I want to address some frequently asked questions. I regret sharing the dumbed down version because I felt I laughed at the amount of shit I put my parents through during all of this. Tons of meetings and phone calls that would have made the story a lot longer, and I didn't think anyone would enjoy reading them. 1. I do not still have the tapes. It was in the administrator's best interest to keep them in case she sued for false termination, and it would have gotten out of hand if the tapes spread and gave a bad reputation towards the district. Even if I kept the tapes, this all took place over 15 years ago, and there's no way in hell I'd be able to find them. 2. Yes, I took algebra as a senior because, again, I wasn't the greatest student to walk those halls, and throughout all my years of school I had tutoring. I'm sorry, I'm not a genius. 3. I don't remember what question I asked that pushed me over the limit that day. Thank you for all the feedback, and I love reading each and everyone's stories that have had similar teachers and revenge. I think, like, most people have that one teacher who's just, like, an absolute twat. So, yeah, this story is pretty relatable. Okay, the next one is some assembly required. Good luck. Okay. On mobile, so apologising for any formatting issues. First post as well. This happened several years ago. I was a nighttime charge nurse over the ICU. I just finished a 12-hour shift at my hospital that turned into a 14-hour shift because of a rapid response right before shift change. Patient responded well. I was exhausted and had to return for a 4-hour shift in 9 hours. All I wanted was some items to drop in the slow cooker so I'd have something to eat when I got up tonight. I stopped at a well-known big box store that sells grocery, clothes, electronics, and the works. I'm wearing royal blue scrubs, a name badge with a big RN under it, and forgot to take my stethoscope off so it's hanging around my neck. The employees here, well, don't. As I'm walking towards the store, I see an elderly couple struggling to load a large box in their SUV parked at the front of the store. And I mean old, 90 plus, shaky hands, teetering around with limited mobility. The kind I see with a medalist 3 pages long. No way his hips would take the weight without snapping. I've worked enough tonight. I approached quickly and addressed the female half of the couple offering help. It was gladly accepted and I got the TV loaded with very little difficulty. It was more cumbersome than heavy. I'm chatting with a woman who was explaining it's a gift for their son and her husband hadn't waited to help. I'd wondered why an employee wasn't helping. That's when it happened. I'll be RN, she'll be EB for entitled bitch. Hey, hey! Startled, we stop our conversation and look over. It's a lady in her 50s dressed in a cheap blonde beige pantsuit with a get your manager hairstyle standing about 15 feet away with a hand on her overly broad hip. If you are about done, I need help over here. She then points to her car with 2 boxes, bookshelves. Some assembly required. I realise she thinks I work here. Oh sorry, I don't work. You're already making me late, just get it done and don't scratch my pay up. The elderly lady and I exchange looks of disbelief and I try again. I don't work here. Just get it done! She then steps away from her cart to grab her purse, grumbling about fucking idiots, and is digging for her keys when the cart rolls further away and one wheel goes off the curb. The entire uneven load causes the cart to topple over. I instinctively jump forward to try and prevent everything from falling. I was unsuccessful. EB, who was now turned to see her particle board bookshelf spilled out on the cement. Corners of the box crushed and one is torn with a few pieces and packaging now exposed. EB completely uses her shit and becomes a raging thunder cunt. What the fuck, you fucking moron, pick them up, god damn it, fucking I'm gonna have you fired, you owe me new bookshelves and I'm late. At this point I'm done. Pick them up yourselves! I don't work here! I then turn to go inside when I feel her grab my sleeve and try to yank me around. I jerk my sleeve out of grip and turn to face her now violently red face. She opens her mouth to start screaming again, but I put my finger in her face and say, no, don't touch me, shut the hell up, I do not work here, and even if I did, I'd quit before I help clean up your shit. EB stands there, speechless, mouth opening and closing, sputtering in shock that I dared raise my voice at her. That's when the manager and employee came out, as EB sees the manager and finds her voice. Are you the manager? This man damaged my bookshelves and is refusing to pay for them. I just stare in shock. Seriously? Having realised that a man in bright blue scrubs with a stethoscope and a big RN badge really doesn't work here, instead of apologising, she chooses to double down on the craziness and now accuse me of breaking her stuff. Before I can voice my denial, the elderly gentleman I helped earlier steps in and explains the situation to the manager. EB is still voicing complaints, but the manager realises the real situation and apologises to me and the couple. I'm still standing by, watching angrily as the manager deals with EB and inspects the bookshelves. They are not damaged. She offers her 2 new boxes, but EB is now done with the whole situation. She says no, she's already too late because of me. Just glares over to me and says to the manager, just load them, I'm already late because of this. The manager and employee then lift the boxes up and get them wedged into the lady's car. As I shake my head and go to enter the store, I'm stopped by the elderly lady I helped earlier. Lady, sir, thank you so much for helping us with TV. I'm so sorry some people are so rude. She then reaches for my hand to shake. As she folds both her fragile hands around me, I can feel something in her palm she's giving me. Don't look yet, wait till she leaves. I slide the package into my scrub pocket and lady walks away. EB then gets in her car and, without apologising or thanking anyway, peels out and drives away. I finally enter the store to grab my food items, and when I reach in my pocket I pull out a plastic bag with a bunch of screws and hardware. I realised immediately that the sweet little old lady took advantage of that commotion to steal the hardware out of EB's ripped box. I couldn't believe it. I had the biggest grin on my face as I did my shopping, and I have a new petty revenge hero to idolise. Edit, thank you for the golden front page. Had no idea. Little overwhelmed. Gone from 12 car to still counting. Thank you all. Like, how entitled do you have to be to see that someone is in hospital clothes and still expect them to, like, load your stuff, even though you can clearly see they don't work there? Okay, I think I'm gonna leave this video here. If you liked this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.